I'll give you your ring back and I'll leave. I can't tell him that. I can't tell him.
You have to.
I can't. He's never gonna forgive this. How is he gonna forgive that?
She called me a liar. She called me a scammer. But she's the real scammer.
The ring is off. Engagement over. No soft landing, no long speech, no dramatic music saving the moment. She takes it off and hands it back, and in that second you can feel the air leave the room. This was not a love story crashing. This was a deal falling apart. Because let's be honest, this relationship never felt like romance. It felt like negotiation. She wanted commitment, validation, a husband to prove she was chosen. He wanted access, a future, a new passport stamp with long-term benefits. And now, with one confession, the whole arrangement cracks. And this is the moment where you realize this was never about love, it was about leverage. She admits she is still legally married, not divorced, still tied on paper, after months of daily calls, after meeting family, after promises. And his face changes, not heartbreak first, reputation first, sin first, community first. So you have to ask yourself, is this outrage about betrayal or about being exposed? Because here's what makes this messy. He doesn't storm out immediately. He doesn't cut ties on the spot. He sits there, stunned, calculating. Principle versus opportunity. Morals versus migration. If the dream is big enough, do values suddenly become flexible? And why reveal the truth now? Why wait until after the engagement? Why confess when the stakes are highest? Was this guilt finally catching up, or strategy misfiring? The ring is back in his hand. She says she will leave. He does not stop her. But here's the part nobody is saying out loud yet. If this breakup were real, final, and driven by pure morals, he would already be gone. Before this ring came off, the power had already shifted, and it shifted in the most uncomfortable way possible. You remember the night, the humiliation, the kind of moment no one wants filmed, let alone aired to millions. She was sick, embarrassed, mortified. And he was the one caught in it with her. That wasn't only gross TV. That was a turning point. Because from that night forward, the balance changed. She felt indebted. He became the calm, patient partner who endured it. Sympathy wrapped around him like armor. And once sympathy enters a relationship, power quietly follows. And that was the first crack in the illusion of equal footing. He handled it softly on camera. Comforting words, understanding tone. But don't ignore what that moment did emotionally. When one partner survives your lowest humiliation, you feel you owe them something. And whether intentional or not, that becomes leverage. Now add the second layer. The accusations. She called him a scammer. He called her dishonest. Both throwing stones while living in glass houses. And this is where it gets interesting. Because both things can be true at the same time. He wants a future in America. She wants a husband who stays. He wants opportunity. She wants security, each accusing the other of using them. So tell me, who is scamming who? Or are they both negotiating terms? This is where selective morality starts to show up. When he finds out she is still legally married, his outrage centers on sin, reputation, tradition, community shame, family judgment, strong words, heavy reactions. But where was that strict moral line when the benefits were flowing, when the engagement was on, when plans were being made? And to be fair, betrayal hurts. Anyone would react. Anyone would feel blindsided. So yes, some of his anger is human. Some of it is valid. But is all of it about principle? Because here's the part that doesn't add up. He doesn't leave immediately. He doesn't book a separate ride. He doesn't slam the door and disappear. He stays close enough to keep the door slightly open. So the real question isn't whether he's angry, it's whether he's calculating. And as we rewind the emotional chessboard, one thing becomes clear. The ring did not come off because of one confession alone. There was something else building under the surface. And we haven't even touched that yet. She starts small. 5 marriages. You see his eyes widen, but he holds steady. 5 is a lot, sure, but people have pasts. Then comes the second layer. She is still legally married, not separated in theory, married on paper. That lands differently. Now the room feels tighter, because this is not ancient history. This is current, active, ongoing. And he immediately frames it around sin, tradition, community. He talks about family shame, about what his people will say, about how this makes him look. Notice the order. Reputation first. Image first. And that is where the temperature changes. If this were only heartbreak, you would hear words about trust, about feeling hurt. Instead, you hear fear of being judged. Fear of being seen as the man who crossed a moral line. That doesn't make him evil. It makes him human. Social standing matters. Culture matters. But when reputation gets louder than love, you have to pause. And she is not even done telling the truth. Because there is still one detail she keeps buried: the gender of the spouse. She edits the story, trims the edges, delivers half honesty and calls it full transparency. So now you have 2 people in a room, both protecting something. She protects her image as the devoted partner. He protects his image as the righteous one. But if both are guarding their image, who is guarding the relationship? Halfway through this confession, you can feel the shift from drama to psychology. This is no longer only about marriage status. This is about identity. He sees himself as honorable. She sees herself as finally honest. Both feel wronged. Both feel exposed. And here is the retention moment, because this is where stakes explode. If this marriage is invalid, does the entire American dream collapse with it? That question hangs there. He says he has committed a serious wrong by being with someone still married. He talks about ancestors, community backlash, spiritual guilt, strong language. But he does not stand up and leave. He stays seated, processing, calculating, breathing hard, yes. Walking away, no. And that silence at the end of the conversation might be louder than anything he said. Now watch what he does next. Not what he says, what he does. He gets in the same taxi. If someone has shattered your moral code, if you feel your ancestors have been dishonored, if your entire reputation is on the line, you do not share a quiet ride back to the hotel. You create distance. You separate. You protect yourself. But he stays in that car. Silent, jaw tight, eyes forward, no affection, no comfort, yet no exit either. And behavior always tells the truth faster than words. Back at the hotel, same pattern. He does not storm out. He does not demand another room. He remains physically close even while emotionally outraged. Anger, yes. Disgust, maybe. But no decisive departure. So now the real conflict surfaces. Principle versus opportunity. Because pride is loud. Opportunity is quiet. Pride says leave. Opportunity says wait. Pride wants a clean break. Opportunity whispers, think long term. And if we are being fair, betrayal hurts. Finding out your partner is still married would shake anyone. He could be stunned. He could be processing shock. Not everyone reacts with dramatic exits. Some people freeze. So is he calculating or is he simply blindsided? Look at his body language. He does not comfort her. He does not reach for her. He also does not physically remove himself from the situation. He looks conflicted. And conflict means something is pulling him in 2 directions. On one side, his public identity. On the other, his private ambition. A future in America. A marriage pathway. A plan he has invested months into. That is not easy to discard in one night. If his only concern were moral purity, the decision would be simple: walk away. Yet he stays in proximity. And proximity means possibility, because if this were truly over, he would already be gone. And here is where tension builds again. We still have not reached the full truth. She has not revealed every detail. He is reacting to a partial confession. His outrage is based on incomplete information. So ask yourself this: if he is struggling with half the story, what happens when the rest comes out? The internet wasted no time. Within hours of the episode airing, timelines were split in half. One side said she played him from day one. 5 marriages, still legally married, selective truth-telling. They called it manipulation. They said she wanted the ring secured before the confession. The other side pushed back. They said his outrage looked staged, that he leaned into tradition and reputation because it made him look like the victim, that he knew what he signed up for and only reacted when his image was threatened. And when the audience is divided like that, you know the story hit a nerve. Some viewers pointed out how calm he stayed during moments that would send most people packing. Others focused on how long she waited to reveal something so big. Was it fear of losing him or fear of losing control? And this is where it gets personal for all of us watching. Because strip away the cameras, the visa talk, the cultural debate, and you're left with a simple question. If you found out your fiancé was still married, what would you do? Walk out? Or sit there trying to calculate the damage? Be honest with yourself, because your answer says more than theirs does. There is also another layer people online started whispering about: money, lifestyle, stability. She has hinted before about financial stress, about not being as secure as she presented. That piece has not fully surfaced yet. And if there are cracks in the financial picture too, then this engagement was standing on thinner ground than anyone realized. Transparency is not optional in long-distance relationships. It is the foundation. Once doubt enters, everything feels strategic. Every apology feels rehearsed. Every tear feels like a move. And right now, both of them look like players trying to recover position. But the next reveal is not about marriage status. It is about something that could flip the entire power dynamic again. Now, the emotional crash hits. She breaks down. Tears, panic, rapid words. The confident fiancé from earlier is gone. In her place is someone afraid of losing everything in one night. You can see the spiral start. When she senses distance, she pushes harder. More apologies, more promises, more urgency. He does the opposite. He pulls back. Quiet, cold, measured. No yelling, no dramatic exit. Withdrawal can be louder than shouting. And when one person chases while the other steps back, the power shifts instantly. This is no longer about legal paperwork. This is about abandonment fear. She has invested her identity into this relationship. She calls him the one. She talks about forever. When that future feels threatened, panic takes over. That kind of desperation changes behavior. On his side, something else is at play. Reputation threat. Ego hit. Public embarrassment. He met family. He vouched for her. He put his name beside hers. Now he feels exposed. Whether his reaction is pure or strategic, the feeling of being made to look foolish cuts deep. And here is where it loops back to that earlier humiliation. The night she was sick. The night he endured the most uncomfortable situation imaginable. That moment gave him emotional high ground. He became the patient one, the tolerant one, the one who stayed. But tonight, the roles flip. Because now he is the one deciding whether she stays. Think about that. For weeks, she feared he might be using her. Now she fears he might leave her. That reversal is not small. That is a full power swing. She pleads. He watches. She spirals. He calculates. And the more she panics, the stronger his position becomes. Not because he planned it, but because emotional imbalance always creates leverage. Still, here is the tension. Power feels good in the moment. But does he want control? Or does he want the outcome he planned all along? Because the final decision will reveal whether pride wins or opportunity does. The engagement is off. The ring is no longer on her finger. And when you strip away the tears, the outrage, the speeches about sin and loyalty, what you are left with is one uncomfortable truth. This relationship was built on negotiation. Was there affection? Yes. Attraction? Yes. But was it ever simple love? That part feels harder to defend. She needed reassurance. He needed a future. She hid parts of her past to secure stability. He overlooked red flags while the goal stayed in sight. Both accused the other of deception. Both claimed moral ground, and both protected their own interests first. When two people call each other scammers, somebody is avoiding the mirror. Principle versus opportunity. That has been the real battle all along. He says his values were crossed. She says her intentions were pure. Yet neither walked into this relationship without an agenda. And that does not make them monsters. It makes them human. Flawed, strategic, afraid. The illusion collapsed the moment transparency failed. Once trust cracks, every action feels calculated. Every apology sounds rehearsed. Every silence feels loaded. And still, here's the part that keeps this story alive. He did not slam the door forever. He did not cut all contact. Anger, yes. Distance, yes. But not a clean break. That leaves room. And where there is room, there is possibility. Because if opportunity still matters to him, this is not over. There is also one more truth sitting in the shadows. The full story of her past has not reached him yet. Not every detail, not every layer. And when that final piece drops, the reaction could be bigger than anything we have seen so far. So the question hanging in the air is simple. When the last secret comes out, does love survive? Or does ambition win? Next time, the hidden truth steps into the light. And that is when we find out who was playing the long game all along.